This video is on the basics of short-run aggregate supply. Short-run aggregate supply is an upward sloping curve because it shows a direct relationship between the price level and real GDP. The reason that the curve is upward sloping is that as the price level rises, let's say price level 1, we're producing this much. Now when the price level rises in the short run, wages are not able to adjust. Wages are only adjustable or flexible in the long run. Now the aggregate supply curve is for the entire economy, the supply of the entire economy and all goods and all businesses producing in the economy. So if the price level rises, if companies are able to get in the short run higher prices for their goods without raising their cost of production, then they're going to increase their profit levels in the short run. So as the price level rises and when we have inflation in the short run, corporations are able to make a greater amount of profit, so they're much more likely to ramp up production. Now, while in the short run they can't change their plant size, so they can't necessarily, increase their capacity to produce, they are certainly going to try to ramp up production very quickly with what they can because their profits will increase. And so that's the main reason for the aggregate supply curve upward sloping. Now, the same rules to graphing and shifting short-run aggregate supply exist as for regular supply, that if SRAS increases, then it shifts to the right, and if SRAS decreases, it shifts to the left. On to the SRAS shifts factors. The acronym for them is TRIP, and the first one is taxes and or subsidies on businesses. So taxes, subsidies. And the key is that it's on businesses. We talked about in aggregate demand that if taxes decrease, then consumers and businesses have more money and they spend more. But if we focus on taxes or subsidies on businesses specifically and not consumers, that companies are going to be able to ramp up production if they have more money. So if an increase in subsidy is going to lead to an increase in production, or a decrease in taxes will lead to an increase in production. The R stands for regulations. So the more regulations there are, the more hoops to jump through, then it's going to slow down production. And the less regulations means you can produce much faster. The I, just like in supply in micro, is input prices. Although for the most part in the aggregate markets, we're talking about things like oil, energy, and wages. So oil, energy, wages are the three big inputs for many goods, because we're not talking about like sugar, because not many producers use sugar. So we're talking about big picture stuff. So what do a lot of companies use at some level of their production or shipping? Oil, energy prices, and wages. And then the last one's productivity, which may be driven by human capital, so a greater graduation rates, or it might be due to more technology availability is going to boost productivity. And so TRIP is the acronym for the shift factors around short-run aggregate supply. And then we'll talk about long-run aggregate supply and how that looks later on. But for now, we just have the short-run equilibrium that we're building towards. So when we put AD and the short-run aggregate supply curve together, that's where we're going to get our short-run equilibrium.